Welcome to Destination Marriage, a podcast about successfully navigating the winding roads of marriage. Whether you're newlyweds, engaged, looking to get married, or have been married for years, we want to share with you how we have navigated those winding roads over the past 19 years in our marriage.
Join us on this journey as we talk about real-life experiences in a marriage and what we have learned along the way. We discuss love, travel, fitness, raising kids, friendships, and much more, all from the perspective of our lives together.
Happiness, love, grace, passion are some of the things we all strive for in a marriage, and we invite you to take this journey with us.
Welcome to Destination Marriage. Welcome to episode 39 of Destination Marriage. I'm Tommy.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are thrilled you have joined us on this journey today.
Absolutely.
So today's topic is titled Life Updates, The Gates Divorced, and the 3 I's.
Ooh, sounds like a good one.
I hope so. So, baby, why don't you lead us off with some updates on what have we been doing the last few weeks?
Yeah, so it's been interesting. My birthday this year landed on Mother's Day, and really full weekend. We had a great time. Great weather was perfect. And then the next day, I woke up, went downstairs. Well, I was attempting to go downstairs to get some coffee, and Jackie took a tumble. Okay. Oh. So here I am. I'm like, I'm walking on sunshine, and then totally crashed on the stairs.
Oh man, I heard it literally from my office across like the entire length of the house, and you landed squarely like on your lower back with right on the edge of the stair, all your weight on that one spot.
I had fallen and I could not get up. It was terrible.
Really couldn't. Yeah.
The pain was excruciating. It even almost hurt just to cry out. I couldn't even make tears roll down my face because it hurt so badly. I don't even know, it's like you always laugh about those commercials where it shows the people with back pain that lights up red.
Yeah.
This was lighting up like
purple
just,
and orange and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I felt terrible for you.
Firing off.
So we took you to the ER because
went to the ER.
The pain was really, really bad as the day progressed.
Yeah, we tried to wait a couple of hours just to see, maybe some ibuprofen, a little bit of ice. Maybe it'll start to subside. It actually started getting worse, and I started to get concerned because when you go on WebMD and you go,
I hate WebMD. It's like you either
have a broken hip and you either 3 vertebrae, or
right, yeah, you either have a bruise, a broken back, or like a spinal tumor. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
But the doctor, it was hurting so bad. The doctor was worried that maybe you had bruised your kidney. So that's how bad the fall was. But anyhow,
the pain was pretty concentrated around my kidney, and it was so bad. And then of course Tommy wasn't able to go back with me. So I was trying to hobble through the hospital by myself.
Get your CT and the whole thing. Yeah.
Just to get a CT scan. Let me just say, okay,
just 7 hours.
Just to get. First of all, it took me 6.5 hours. Yeah. But also I had to tell them I cannot get on I can't get on the actual
you could
bed
barely
for
move.
the CT scan. I can't lift my leg, and they didn't lift me. They said, well, we'll just give you a little bit of some morphine. It'll help you.
Morphine's pretty good.
I mean, I could feel the morphine, but it actually did not really help that pain situation to get onto the CT scan. I almost felt like the pain was worse than childbirth. Okay.
Wow.
Like
it was intense.
Yes, I've had 2 kids. I've gone through some natural labor for at least 10 hours before I had an epidural. This was worse. Okay. So note to self, everyone who has carpeted stairs, hold on to that banister. Every time I'm going down the stairs now, I'm holding on to that banister for dear life.
And don't wear long, like silky type pajama pants because that got caught on your foot.
Is definitely the short person's enemy, okay? Short people problems over here. I cannot wear long loungewear because this is not the first time this has happened to me. When Brandon was a baby, I was wearing long pajama pants, and the same thing happened. Of course, I'm focused on saving the baby, not myself, but I was also in my 20s, and it's just not the same. You fall down the stairs now.
That hurts a lot more.
Yeah, it's like
you think, am I going to even bother getting up?
I'm just going to stay here till the pain goes away. It may be a couple of weeks.
I've done the same thing, like early mornings, but I hurt my arm because I caught myself on the banister, but it's like my entire weight, like all of a sudden, 5 a.m. was caught by one arm, and you still woke you up because it was loud.
Well, Tommy, when a 6'3", 200-pound man falls down the stairs, you hear it.
But you are doing much better now. It was definitely some rest, actually, with back, because it ended up being just kind of a really deep bruise and kind of maybe some strain here and there. staying active is actually better. So like not stretching and doing yoga, but moving and keeping
I'm back
it active.
At the gym.
Yeah, but being
started
sensitive
walking,
around it. Yeah.
pretty quickly. But yeah, it was pretty painful.
So that threw our week into a bit of a, not a tailspin, but a whirlwind.
Yeah, and so this is just a few days before we're supposed to actually leave for one of our most recent trips. We went down to Miami. It was just kind of like a delayed birthday celebration because my birthday landed on Mother's Day.
A regular 5-day vacation of like days off, but we split it up amongst 2 trips, kind of back-to-back weekends. We've never done that before, and that was interesting. So we did Miami, just me and you. And then the following weekend, we just got back from Universal, and we took the boys and we did a kind of a 5-day over the weekend trip to Universal. So a lot of fun. First time we had flown in a long time. So
it's been over a year.
Yeah. So we were kind of, all right, let's see how this goes. But it's kind of one of those things. If you just wear a mask, don't fuss about stuff. Like nobody bothered anybody. There was no issues.
On the flight?
Yeah. Like the airport was fine. My mask kept sliding down, and they would kind of remind me.
You did get yelled at a couple of times.
Yelled is aggressive.
They were like, "You're out of here." I'm just fine.
But imagine that if everyone just kind of acts normal and just goes about their business, there's no issues on flights.
Yeah.
Right? People aren't getting into fight. I've never seen
the
like
Southwest flight.
We just saw that somebody just got punched in the face.
Actually,
the flight attendant got punched in the face and lost 2 teeth. It's like, come on, people, what is wrong with you?
Flight attendants don't get paid enough to get punched in the face, people. Okay.
Now there's, I know that there's been some situations where little tiny kids, little toddlers, how do you keep a mask on a 3-year-old or a 2.5-year-old, right? So like the rule is technically anybody over 2 is supposed to wear a mask the entire flight. That's unreasonable to expect a 2.5-year-old to keep a mask on. And a family got kicked off a Southwest flight because the 2-year-old wouldn't leave the mask on or something. It's like, come on, like common sense has got to kick in, right? It's not a jerk, I'm not wearing my mask, causing an issue.
I can't with Southwest flights. They just give me serious anxiety. But there were small kids on our flight. Clearly, we're flying down to Florida. There's going to be kids on our flight every single time. The Orlando flight was filled with kids. And there were a couple littles that weren't wearing their masks the whole time. I don't care. I mean, and the flight attendants didn't say anything.
Nobody should care.
Nobody should care. But I'm just saying, if Southwest is making such a big deal about these toddlers,
it seems to be, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's the flyers were causing issues. Who knows? But
there's a lot of activity on their flights.
Florida, everybody is open, and
Miami was great.
Miami was wide open, both like wide open, and hardly anybody wearing masks. You still had people who would wear a double mask and then a full plastic shield, but they'd be in their like party gear,
in 90-degree weather,
in their club dress, right?
Their club dress. Miami was a good time. Actually,
we stayed in South Beach, so we had never stayed in South Beach. We stayed in Miami Beach and then gone to South Beach, but we never actually kind of stayed right in the middle of it. So that was that was fun. It was a good time. We stayed at the Hotel Victor, which is a smaller boutique hotel. Very cool.
In previous years, we've stayed at some of the larger places in Miami Beach, like the Fontainebleau, the Miami Edition. So it was nice, just a different experience to stay at a smaller boutique hotel. The service was great. We were directly across from the beach. It had a really cute restaurant, and everything was walkable.
Yeah, we just walked the entire time. Took a couple Ubers,
the people watching
is next level.
It really is. That was entertainment in itself. Free entertainment. The people watching was
there
our
are
point.
People that they don't care.
No,
they really don't. They're like, I look good, and I don't care.
I'm doing my own thing. I'm having a good time.
I'm confident. I look good.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna have fun. There was just a lot of. We didn't stay out till 3 a.m. So who knows? But there was almost no issues. Again, people were just having a good time.
Yeah.
Doing their thing.
Yeah, no issues at all.
Yeah, there was no mask shaming. I'll tell you, the only mask shaming was there was like a few Universal employees, and I know they're just doing their job.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so Universal Universal just changed the rules based on the new Florida, like the Florida state level mandates.
Yeah.
Or the CDC guidelines too. So Universal only in rides or in venues, those kind of things.
In rides in a restaurant.
Yeah, any venue where you're
indoor.
Indoor. So that made it definitely easier because I'm sure they were probably walking around snapping at people outside prior to this. But
I can't imagine in that heat. Oh my
goodness. there was a few employees that they have a little bit of a power.
It was only on a couple of rides.
Yeah, it's like, come on, people, relax.
But I felt like they were maybe
all
being
those
a
3D
little...
glasses fogging up with if you wear your mask over your nose. So
Yeah.
I would pull it down all the time. And then every once in a while,
Just
put
so
your
you
mask
could-
up.
Well, so you
It's
could see. You can't see without the 3D glasses working. You can't see anything.
But again, like, I have my thoughts on masks, but I'm not going to be a jerk to anybody about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'll follow the rules and just move on with my life. But I love the approach that one of your friends kind of talks about is like, masks are not normal, so I'm just going to act normal, but follow the rules and just not make a big deal out of it, right?
Anyway, so
Florida's open, people.
yeah, Florida's
Go.
wide open. We had a really good time. Miami, always a good time.
Yeah.
We actually went to one of my favorite restaurants, which is Hakkasan. I hadn't gone in years. And here's the thing, what's really weird is the fact that we hadn't flown in such a long time. We were normally flying like every 6 weeks, and you probably more often because of travel for
of work, yeah.
But this is a big deal for me to actually get out, get on a plane, and get the heck out of here, because I've literally been suffocated by this, like, no travel for the last year. I
Yeah,
can't.
it's sucks. I mean, we've
I'm
driven a little bit, but
when
like
I'm thriving with me in a suitcase, sunglasses
heading
in hand, and I'm
heading
like,
to Caribbean.
and I'm headed somewhere warm.
Yeah.
Winter
Palm trees
temperatures,
somewhere.
not so much, but yeah.
But I have to say, as a general statement, at least with our limited experience so far in Florida with all this stuff, Florida is arms wide open with people. They're welcoming. There's no issues, right?
Yeah,
So-
I was incredibly busy. Actually, I was surprised.
I was really surprised too.
The
I
airport.
kind of thought like maybe we snuck in before the summertime, so maybe it was gonna be a little busy or not as busy. No, it was busy.
Yeah, here's a little tip for everybody who's getting or preparing to travel this year. If you don't have a TSA pre-check, go ahead and get one. Trust me, you'll thank me later, because if you don't have pre-check, you're waiting in a ridiculously long line.
It's true. Yeah, security's long. It was
it saved
Orlando.
us so much
Yeah.
time. And even in Orlando, like leaving, I think just in the regular line, they had a sign that said, if you're at this point, you're waiting 40 minutes. So
Right.
get that pre-check, trust me. So
that is what we've been up to. It was such a good time to spend with our boys. We haven't been on the four of us all on one trip in a long time.
yeah, since Italy.
And so it was really just a great time together. And
We
so I'm
needed
really
that.
really thankful for that.
And now I'm planning our next trip.
There you go.
So in recent news, I'm sure by now, most of you have probably heard about the Bill and Melinda Gates divorce filing.
Scandalous.
It really is. I mean, they've got 27 years under their belt marriage. And there's certain, I guess, there's speculation around the why, the reason. And we'll never really know the true reason, I'm sure, because you don't really know what goes on behind closed doors. But the couple, after 27 years, has decided to part ways. They feel like I think their words were, we don't feel like we can grow together moving forward.
That's a
So-
nice way of politically
It's kind of like that conscious
correct.
uncoupling thing,
You know
that
what,
people
like-
came up with years ago.
One person came up with.
Well, I mean, it
Gwyneth
caught
Paltrow.
on, but it caught
Has
on.
it really? Have people been
Yes,
using that
people are
as
using that all the time now. It's,
consciously coupling?
yeah.
That bothers me. But anyhow,
Or they could just be, we don't like each other anymore. I don't know.
no, she's got to make everything dramatic.
Rip the Band-Aid off. But yeah, so after 27 years, they are parting ways. I think at this point, they are said to be worth maybe close to $130 billion.
I think it's more, like 160 now.
Oh, is it? 160?
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw something in Forbes.
130, 160, potato. I mean, at the end of the day, finances are probably not the reason why they're parting ways.
Yeah.
But, so, in terms of the speculation, like why are they splitting after all these years? There are a number of reasons that I've heard that are kind of been thrown out there. 20 years ago, and I think he admitted to this, Gates had said that he was unfaithful. I think this was actually someone who...
like a coworker or a
It was
staffer
a money
or something?
manager. So it was
Oh,
a
it
coworker.
was
It was a money manager
okay.
that worked for, I think, Microsoft at the time. He had reportedly had this affair, I think, in the early 2000s, and
Which is terrible, right?
which is terrible. So let's just say that.
So we don't know. I guess it hasn't been said if she knew the whole time or just found out. We don't. Do you know that? I didn't read a lot of it.
Yeah, so she actually did find out because it came out, and so back then,
Okay.
and then, they broke it off. He and this mistress, so they broke it off. This was 20 years ago, and I guess she decided we can still move forward. Now they had young children at the time,
Right.
too.
So we don't know what that was.
Yeah.
But that's terrible. But what's really weird is the other scenario that came out.
Yeah, this whole agreement he had with his
have you
wife.
guys heard of
I
this?
guess. Okay, so he basically told his wife, "Look, when I guess I'm not, let's say I'm Bill. Hey, look, I want to marry you, but the deal is once a year I'm going to have this little tryst with my ex-girlfriend."
Like high school sweetheart girlfriend or what? Who was she?
I don't think it was a high school sweetheart. Maybe college years.
Long before he was Bill Gates, right?
Yeah,
like
before Melinda existed in his life, he
Right.
had this relationship.
or before he was Bill Gates billionaire.
Oh, probably. I'm sure, an up and comer. But anyway, so he made this agreement with his spouse, and she agreed to it. She said, sure. So once a year, he was going off, I don't know, to Tahiti or whatever, and having this little tryst with his ex-girlfriend. Now, maybe she agreed to it initially saying, you know what, whatever, he'll get over it, or he'll never actually move forward with it. I think it was a poor choice to agree with it, but
Yeah, we don't know.
nevertheless, she did.
Has she explained her rationale on that whole
That was
thing?
never explained.
Yeah.
I don't think she ever
I
really
mean, she doesn't owe it
discussed-
to us, right?
No.
But we can speculate
like,
all we want.
Give me the deets, Melinda. So anyway, so I think that maybe over
So
time.
what would I do if I wanted to have a tryst with my ex high school sweetheart?
That would be me.
Oh yeah, that's right. I get to have that tryst all the time.
You want to take me somewhere? Oh,
Hell yeah.
sure. I agree to this tryst. But so she agrees to this, and I'm thinking maybe over time some resentment started to build up. Okay, and that could be a piece of it. Right?
It could have, right? That's never healthy. Period. Like I can't imagine a scenario where that's healthy.
Unless she's like, you know
Now-
what? I've seen him too much over the last few weeks. Get the heck out of the house. Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Let her.
Okay, but now
it
it's
can be her
coming out,
problem.
right? I know you're kind of
I'm
joking about it, but
I
like
would never agree to this nonsense.
the only, if like you hear about situations of like not arranged marriages, but like marriages that are at some point just for convenience, where
They
both
make an
partners,
arrangement, you
yeah, like
mean.
where both partners stay married just for the sake of finances or
They run it like a business.
yeah, or like or their image because they're in the public eye or they're you hear about those types of scenarios, but
Yeah.
like if this was done thinking that this was healthy, like that's just really poor thinking.
Well, I don't even know if when you get to a certain point in your life of power and success, do you really think his thought process was, is this healthy or this is what I want? It sounds as though to me that this was presented to her. If you want this, this comes along with it.
And if he had that, because they married once he was already well on his
He
way.
was already
so
successful, not where he is now.
I don't know. Maybe I mean, unfortunately, there's those power plays come into effect. It's a poor way of looking at a marriage, but it's not my marriage.
Yeah.
It would be wrong of me to try to like leverage something, and just as it would be wrong of you to try to leverage something like that. It's not healthy if you want that healthy marriage.
Right. I agree. And the other thing that actually was
this one's really interesting.
Yeah. So this, and by the way, it has come out. So she actually started moving forward with her divorce moves as far as speaking to different attorneys and as early as early 2019. So this was
Back when?
Yes. Back when the Epstein scandal or, the sex trafficking, all of that had come, obviously into light. And she also, at the time, was aware that her husband, Bill Gates, had a working relationship with Epstein. Now, I don't think he needed Epstein in his corner for financial security or
right?
opportunity.
So why would
So what was
he?
the purpose? Exactly. So why else would you want to...
There is
rub
so
elbows with this
much
person?
power and money keeping that Epstein, the real truth from coming out. There's so much power involved because it involves power across the world or around the country, at least in all levels, in the tech world, in the political world, Republicans, Democrats, like they're all in cahoots. I'm convinced to keep that squashed. I'm surprised that Ghislaine or whatever her name is still alive. I really am. But she's also not in the news, so I think everybody's just like, don't look over here.
That has definitely quieted down.
Nothing to see here.
Well,
right?
It's said that Melinda actually had issues with the relationship back in, I want to say 2011, when he was actually...
Wow, in 2011?
Yeah,
Wow.
in 2011, when he was flying He flew on Epstein's jet. There were multiple times that he had traveled with him. I don't know if he went over and visited that island. What is it, in St. Thomas or St. John or something?
Yeah.
So she had issues and voiced her concern. She did want the relationship squashed.
And that was before anything had come out about him, right?
That was before anything came out. So
did
if
she
we're
just have an
looking
instinct
back,
or just kind of didn't smell right?
I
Did she
think
say?
when things really rose to the surface and she saw that, if this is accurate, okay, allegedly, if she went to see attorneys in 2019, it is a little timely. You know what I mean? It seems like she figured, I don't want anything to do with this. If there's other things
if
that are
stuff
going
comes
to start,
out, I don't want to be involved.
Right.
Because
I want to,
maybe, hopefully.
not only that,
yeah.
because here's the thing. If it does come out, guess what would happen? His assets would be frozen. Okay. And that could affect, there would.
It
and
could,
then his kids probably,
if it came to that,
Yeah. Not that their kids, I think they're giving them compared to what they're actually worth, they're giving them probably peanuts. For us, I'd be like, oh, that's fantastic. I'm a millionaire. But the other thing I was thinking about, she could potentially want to protect the assets and make sure that her children, their financial security is not, put in jeopardy because of his buffoonery. If he, was involved in anything along those lines with, the
I didn't think about it. The timing, I didn't think about it. I mean, I'm sure she's got really expensive lawyers that are giving her a lot of good advice, so.
I mean, she's smart. She's,
Well, I mean, they may be giving her like legal trust
right.
and, asset management advice that.
I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, I think it's unfortunate because, it's always unfortunate. It's always, you hate to see divorce, period. But you do like to see examples of solid marriages where people that are in the spotlight, right? And so the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, how many times have you heard that phrase, right? They support a lot of great causes. They've, spent billions on, helping the poor around the world or the impoverished. So, you hope that the marriage that makes up that name is solid, but you know what? It's not, right? And I don't know what all the root cause totally was. I think they're going to keep some of it hidden if possible, but there are clearly the infidelity and the this weird arrangement every year.
I mean, it's odd.
How is that?
I don't know if this is like a rich
workable
people thing, like, making
How is that
arrangements.
workable? Yeah.
I have no idea. But here's what, there's so much speculation around it, with all these different potential reasons as to why, which leads us to the three I's.
The three I's.
So, the three I's that could potentially lead to divorce, or maybe typically do in some cases.
So can you just kind of back up one step? So you said, hey, let's do the three I's of that lead to divorce. And where did you see that? Like, was that something that
I had seen an article somewhere about the three I's, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Not to say that these are the only things,
right,
but these are kind of like the things that you typically see on, I guess, divorce papers.
Yeah.
When people would normally put, which the first one would be irreconcilable differences. How many times have we heard that, especially with a lot of people, like you mentioned, that are in the spotlight?
Yeah.
We'll say, oh, why are they divorcing irreconcilable differences? What does that mean?
It's this broad, I mean, I guess there's real, the actual words, what it means are real, but then there's kind of like, it seems to be like this legal catch-all. If it's allowed, no fault type divorce or something, state, depending on the state laws, it's like this kind of just, let's just say irreconcilable differences, right? I mean, there's a lot of, let's just focus on the real things that could be irreconcilable, right?
So how
finances,
to manage, how to manage finances.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the actually biggest causes of divorce is, if one person wants, there tends to be a saver and a spender in a marriage, but that doesn't mean it's irreconcilable. You can still manage it, accordingly. But if you have a fundamental difference in how you want to spend money, or you fight over money all the time, that's
or hiding money.
Yeah, there's all sorts of ways that could go, right? Yeah. Or spending, like, we've heard stories of hoarding money because of this like absolute fear of not having anything, to the point where you're sacrificing the now for things your family really needs. Yeah. Right. So there's that end. There's spending money that you don't have, or hiding credit card. There's all sorts of ways it could go. Lack of sexual intimacy. I mean, that could be a real irreconcilable difference. That kind of boils up over time.
Yeah, we're created to we're created where we need touch and we need that
Intimacy,
connection.
yeah.
We need that with our spouse, whether it's a hug, a kiss, or more. Like you need to. That's part of feeling loved.
Yeah.
And wanted.
I'm not saying like everybody's, every marriage has their own cadence and patterns and needs, for each partner. But if they're fundamentally different and it's not fixable, then it's tough. That's really tough.
Yeah, because once you start going down that path, I'm not saying everybody, but unfortunately, some couples that start going down that path where they stop having that sexual intimacy or any affection at all, sometimes they have a hard time finding their way back. It almost can get, I guess, awkward, stale, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last one we kind of talked about was like extended family issues, right?
Yeah, because how do you control that? You know what I mean? Like, how do you control if you have extended family that is maybe causing an issue, attacking your spouse?
Yeah, and lines have been drawn, or people feel torn or loyal to their
you've
family.
Attempted to draw a line and the line's still across. You can draw a line all you want.
But I mean, as far as like how that then breaks up a marriage, it's going to be, I think that tends to be that torn or that sense of being torn with who you're loyal to. You're loyal to your spouse or your mom or your brother. I mean,
yeah, I think it can definitely get more complicated, if you live with your parents, if you're like in a multifamily home, if your parents still hold the purse strings, if you're from a family where maybe that's a potential issue.
Or
I don't know.
Yeah. If like you said, like that attacking on the spouse from the opposite family, and the spouse whose family is doing the attacking doesn't put their foot down and stop it. Like that's irreconcilable. That's going to be really hard to get over. The second I is infidelity.
Yeah.
And I think this one, as a general rule, speaks for itself. Unfortunately, it's, we have talked about on this podcast quite a bit, our views on marriage, and that it's not a relationship. It's not a contractual, it's not a contract. It's not a business arrangement. It's a covenant. And that's a lifelong commitment to one another. Through thick and thin, through the good and the bad, you grow together. I love the word. It just kind of, it's like unbreakable. The goal being unbreakable, but infidelity is probably the easiest way to break a covenant marriage. Yeah, I would think, right?
Yeah, because that broken trust can it be rebuilt? I mean, I think in some situations maybe it can, and then there's probably others that maybe it can't. And that's why in that situation with Bill and Melinda kind of teeing it up. I don't know. Maybe that's something that they were able, because that was 20 years ago and they moved past it. Maybe other things came to the surface where
we don't know,
if she's
right?
questioned, you know what I mean? So I think in that situation.
And then a yearly tryst.
Yeah,
that was quote accepted or agreed upon. Like, what if it did build, like you said, resentment over time?
Right. And then it's like maybe she was trying to heal from that 20 years ago and it continuously picked away at the scab. I don't know. But infidelity, I've seen a lot of couples that have been able to, whether they're in the spotlight or not, move forward from that situation. But that really takes two. It takes both people working towards that, not just the one that, obviously either did the act or the one who's on the receiving end of the betrayal. It takes both parties.
It does.
And it can take years, for someone to work through that. But and
I think it also depends on the situation and what happened and the level. It's all bad, it's all terrible, but an affair, an extended affair, or multiple affairs versus
whether it's emotional or physical, or
I think there's different depths and levels, and it really depends. As like you said, it takes both parties, right? So there's so much of it depends on how much effort the person that had the affair committed the act. How much they change, how much they commit, and then how much the person that it was committed on, how much they're willing to and able to forgive and move forward and try to heal, or want to. But they have the right, it's pretty straightforward. Like that's the easiest way to break up a marriage, I think. Right. The last one is incompatibility.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting because obviously you marry somebody because you feel like you're compatible,
right?
So I was like, incompatibility doesn't make sense to me. Why would I marry this person in the first place? All of a sudden, after 3 years of dating, 5 years of dating, I'm like, wait a second, we have nothing
Right.
in common. That doesn't make sense. So actually that one means that over time, your views may become completely opposite, whether it's political views, which I think last year may have caused some issues with,
Yeah.
a lot of politics, religious views. Some people may not have a religious view when they first meet,
or
at all.
they
then
started, they became, they started following a certain religion after the marriage.
Yeah.
And that's a real incompatibility issue.
Yeah, so that can definitely, because especially if they have kids, agreeing on whether or not they raise their children with a certain faith. Yeah. So that's why I was thinking about it differently, but that makes sense to me. I'm not saying that should be the nail in the coffin, but that's definitely a real reason, especially how to raise your children, because that can cause a really divided home.
Sure. And I think that speaks to the importance of premarital counseling and really kind of, making sure that, the saying opposite attract, right? There's a lot to that. We're completely opposite in so many ways.
What?
But we're not incompatible.
We're not opposite.
Of course we are. We are, but a lot of that
I need
complements.
to look further into this. Wait a second.
Come on, but we complement each other in so many things, and we're absolutely compatible. So it's not about music likes or dislikes. These are like core level things, right? Your religion, your religious views, your political views. That's pretty. I know political views can maybe seem superficial, but
hey, people get really fired up about
not
that.
Just
even in a marriage.
Democrat versus Republican, but how you approach the world a lot of ways is political, right? So those are big issues, not do you like this type of food, or do you like sports or not? I mean, there's all these other what
those
music
are minor.
do you like?
I don't think that's going to really shake up a household.
Right. So I think the incompatibility is more at the core type of level. And it's really hard to overcome.
So what do you think about coming back from any one of these? I mean, is it possible?
I think the irreconcilable differences, right? If the belief and the core, I go back to the covenant marriage view that we have. If you don't have a covenant marriage view, it's really hard, those quote irreconcilable differences. They take on a life of their own if they're not under an umbrella of we are committed to each other. We will work through these little things and not let them become irreconcilable, right?
Yeah.
If we disagree on money, then we're committed to working through and finding the right compromise. Sometimes that means I change. Sometimes that means you change. Sometimes that means we both change. But we're committed at the core to our marriage. It's covenant based.
Yeah.
Not, well, we'll see if this works out. Right. So I think that irreconcilable differences, if you view your marriage differently, that you can absolutely come back from those things. But you do have to kind of change, I think, your approach and your core belief of what a marriage is. Otherwise, those things are just going to grow and grow and grow. And then all of a sudden you're signing your divorce papers and you just cite irreconcilable differences.
Well, almost, I think with irreconcilable differences, at the core of it can be a lot of stubbornness. And we're looking at a lot of those issues where I don't want to budge or you wouldn't want to budge.
Yeah.
Other than extended family issues, which you can also be stubborn if you don't want to be the person to say, hey,
or,
this
or
needs to
cowardly.
stop. You're cowardly. Yeah.
Right. Because you don't want to, I don't want to hurt my mom, or I can't go into my mom, even if, and mom, if you're listening, this is not about you.
My mother-in-law's an angel.
But if it's you kind of hear, it seems that a lot of times that's a situation where it's the husband's mom maybe is overbearing or controlling and, maybe rude or passive aggressive to the wife, and the wife gets upset and the husband just kind of feels like they're in the middle. No,
like a tug of war.
Like a tug of war. It's not, of course you're supposed to honor and love your mom, but your wife is the most important relationship on the planet to a husband. It should be, and vice versa, right? We should be more loyal to each other over our parents, our sisters, our brothers, anything else. And the rest will fall in line, I think.
I'm loyal to you, Sandy.
But the infidelity you ask, can we come back from that? We kind of hit on it. But that's probably the hardest. I really think so.
I think couples can. I've seen couples come back from that.
It's a long road.
That's something that I obviously strongly believe that marital counseling is an absolute must.
You need somebody objective that you can trust, that has both of your best interests at heart, right?
Yeah.
That's why objectivity and who you seek out, because when you, going back to the family piece, right? There's going to be fierce loyalty probably a lot of times, a lot of anger, and a lot of one-way guidance that you'll get from somebody who got one-sided views. Yeah.
I think counseling needs to happen for both whomever the adulterer is, and then the person on the receiving end of the betrayal, because and it may be together and separately, because those are two completely different issues. Obviously the person who committed the crime, I'm going to say it's a crime, committed the crime, needs to work through a number of different issues that even led up to what happened. There's some deep-seated problems there. But I think there's a way back,
but it's hard.
I think it'd be a long road.
A lot of commitment.
Yeah. But again, if the person who was betrayed feels like they can't move forward from it, then I think it's pretty clear, if you break that covenant, that person has that option to part ways, so.
Absolutely.
But incompatibility, what do you think about that?
I think that it's similar to irreconcilable differences, although this is more core level stuff. So I think that don't be incompatible, heading into your marriage. However, if there are incompatibility issues, I still think it goes back to what's our core belief about our marriage, right? And so some of those incompatible things in the big picture, maybe they're not as important as you think, right? So if we're fully committed to each other 100%, but we differ politically, you can kind of leave some of that stuff at the door, right? There's some things you can work through and still kind of come back from, or there may be some compromise that are, what are seem to be incompatible issues, such as religion or, political views or how to raise the kids, right? Maybe I'm wrong and I need to change. And I need to look at the big picture of what's most important, my pride or my marriage.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so many ways it could go, but I think it's not as hard as the infidelity. That's such an emotional toll and breaking of trust. Arguing over politics is important. Arguing over how to raise the kids, that absolutely matters. But it's not an emotional betrayal that has that deep-seated hurt. But I think I think you can come back from incompatibility. Incompatibility is such a hard word to say.
It's a tongue twister, right? I thought it was just me.
Yes, but again, it's looking at what's the big picture. What's most important? If you view your marriage as a covenant, that we are committed to each other 100%. Then you can almost rest. There's a foundation you can rest on that, we'll work out the rest.
Yeah. I agree. I think actually it reminds me of a quote that I had posted on our Destination Marriage Instagram, and I may not know word for word, but it was something along the lines of, the goal is not to think alike, but to think together. Basically, we need to come together, even if we may not think, of every single thing the exact same way. I like, tomatoes, you like potatoes, I like whatever.
No.
I'm potato.
Nope. You ruined it, Kuiper.
I'm not trying to go down a political path or anything like that. I'm just saying, you're right. If you have a different preference than I do when it comes to sports, whatever it may be, at the end of the day, who are we together as husband and wife? And what do we want for our home? There's other things you can work through it. I think a lot of that also is going to be communication.
Yep.
Because, a huge piece of when you get married is you can't be selfish, So if you want to stick to your views and your way of doing things, that's a selfish mindset. It's never going to work.
Right. All those other things are just going to fester.
Right.
All the three eyes. And then all of a sudden you're going to be on Jeffrey Epstein's island. Next thing you know.
I'll pass. But you know what? We need to start working on that little weekend tryst you wanted to take your high school sweetheart on.
Amen.
That would be me.
I'll start working on that.
Yeah. So thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back next week.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if so, please continue to listen and subscribe on Podbean, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. We would greatly appreciate positive reviews, and we will answer any questions at feedback@destinationmarriagepodcast.com. For up-to-date content and news about the podcast, you can follow us on Instagram at destination_marriage and visit our website at destinationmarriagepodcast.com. Be sure to tune in next week.